One of the main components of our song is its rhythm. This was something that everybody in the group contributed to. We all met up in one of our meetings in the annex, and we got around a table and we set a metronome to 90 beats per minute, and each one of us started either snapping or clapping or tapping different subdivided rhythms. We each had our own different unique rhythm. It all kind of molds together to create a foundation for the rest of the song to build off of. We each came in at different parts so that each rhythm is showcased a little bit, and it builds layer by layer as the song goes on. We weren't completely together all the time. It was difficult to keep all 6 people all clapping different rhythms in time with one another, but for the most part we held it together pretty well, and it helps the song click.
The second sound component we chose is melody. One of the main melodies is played on my cello, which was the alteration of In the Hall of the Mountain King. On every fourth measure after the 6-bar intro, Will's trumpet has a melodic improvised phrase, which is the minor blues jazz influence. Jonas's open guitar chords, while mainly providing support, can also be considered to be a melodic line, making this piece polyphonic.
The third sound component to our piece was texture. So if you listen to the original sound, which are the snap of the fingers, the pat, clapping of the hands, and the percussive hit on the table with your knuckles. If you listen to those, because they're all unique in their own dynamic, the combination of these sounds produces a thick texture. This thick texture remains steady, as well as the tempo stays the same as well. The rest of the melodies in the overall sound, such as the saxophone, electric guitar, cello, and trumpet, provide a smooth and sort of transitive sound that accompanies this thick texture. For the original sound of our musical piece, I included snapping and beatboxing. You can barely hear the beatboxing. It comes right before the snap, but I included that. It's sort of like a scratching effect. Let's say you want to scratch a record, and then of course the snapping. Both say a lot about my personality, actually. So the snapping involves me as an efficient person. I always like to be aware of time and how it doesn't stop, and I must be productive. And it's just one of those things where I often find myself either snapping whenever I lose information and I'm trying to remember, or even just when I'm trying to get someone's attention, which I promise it's not to be rude.
Howdy, my name is Will Cunningham, and my contributions to the song are the piano chords, the electric bass, and the trumpet. So I learned trumpet and piano in middle school. I taught myself piano, but I was taught trumpet. It's how I come to love jazz music, which is something that is very near and dear to my heart. I've been playing in a jazz band ever since 7th grade, but in all those years, my favorite thing to do in jazz band, more than anything else, was take improvisational solos, where you're given a set of chord changes and you are told to play and you have to make up a solo on the spot. And so that contributes to kind of how I love unpredictability in music. That's why I like complex stuff, complicated chord changes, things that maybe I wouldn't necessarily do in a solo. So I play a few improvised blues riffs and the pickups to each phrase to illustrate that part of my life and how unpredictability of this song kind of keeps you guessing at what's going to come next. The other main component of the song I contributed was the Wurlitzer electric piano sound, because piano is prevalent in the majority of the songs I listen to, and I love the sound, so I wanted to include it. And also the electric bass, which is an instrument I'm currently trying to learn, so its inclusion in the song kind of represents my love for music and how, as a musician, you'll never stop developing and widening your skills.
Starting off, I would like to say that everyone was so considerate of each individual's ideas and the vision of what our project was supposed to sound like. Looking back, I realized that some of my claps were hard to hear, which was really weird because each of us were equal distances from the mic. And I feel like it represents the shy, quiet person I used to be, but if you go on with the music, you can hear that my claps get stronger and more consistent, and this shows that I've grown from the shy person I used to be, and now I'm so ready and jump at the opportunity to introduce myself and meet new people and such. During the process of creating, my method was to listen and then to contribute and to try to fit where I thought best. And I think it shows my talent of molding into environments and situations and doing what feels best for certain settings. I like to think of it as being the mystique of social interactions.
My contribution to this song was playing in the Hall of the Mountain King on my cello. I have played the cello for 8 years, but I stopped playing in an ensemble after high school, although I really enjoy playing it in my free time, so I was very excited to share my talent through our piece. I chose to play in the Hall of the Mountain King because it reminds me of one of my favorite concerts which I played my sophomore year. It was a children's concert, and it is one of my fondest memories of orchestra.
I have always been a fan of the guitar, specifically electric. I also create my own beats, so I combined an electric guitar with some Vox samples over the steady beat that was previously recorded by the group. I am currently learning how to edit videos, so I decided to provide a nice visual to go along with the song my group composed. I chose the guitar because I felt it would mesh with the combination of sounds put together by the group. The steady rhythm you hear in the background was composed by each group member, contributing to a steady rhythm that we created by knocking on the table, snapping, clapping, and other various noises. We then recorded these sounds. Each group member then added their own sounds to create the combination of music and melodies and rhythm that you hear in the song that has been composed. Overall, the song rhythm is polyphonic.
My first sound is me walking past the construction on campus by the Memorial Student Center. I chose this sound because I usually hear the construction noise every day when I'm walking from some of my classes. This sound is significant to me because the construction represents the change in my life right now, building a new routine, and the various opportunities ahead. This is my first year of college, so I had to leave behind so many people I know and love in the life I had and find a new routine. The sounds of construction are not consistent and they have a rough texture. But it shows that everyone gets through rough patches and that hard work and diligence will eventually pay off, just as months and months of labor end up paying off for a beautiful new building. My second sound was a recording of the rain last Saturday. I grew up in Houston, and there were always lots of rainy days. And so I grew accustomed to rainy weather, and it's now my favorite. The continuous rhythm of tapping on the windows allows me to fixate my thoughts on the sounds it makes, rather than anything else. It takes me out of reality, but in a good way, like I'm being hypnotized. The texture of its sound also makes me want to retreat to bed for the day, but not in a lazy way, in a way where it makes me feel like home.
Thanks, Ann Gigum.